Hi, I'm sorry for taking so long in between pages. I've been really busy. Very briefly, I'm taking a break from animating cartoons and I'm going to work for a while. I had 2 jobs for the past month, which is why I didn't work on this comic, but now I have only 1 job, so I can start on it again. If you're one of my patrons, I've written a post about it. So many people wrote really clever, thoughtful pieces of writing, and I felt spoiled for choice, and I'm sorry I can't use more of them, or even read more of them out. So thank you everyone, there were so many good ones. I enjoyed the several inventive suggestions for how to get Gooseman into the story. Here's the first one. As Fernando ran through the jungle, he noticed Gooseman running adjacent to him with panicked eyes. "Where's the Walrus Pit?" screamed Gooseman, sweat running down his face. "They've returned," said Fernando solemnly, locking eyes with Gooseman. Gooseman pondered for a second, wondering what Fernando could possibly mean. "They may be planning to attack Fetish Fest. Only we can stop them." That one's by Mr. Instakill. I really like that Gooseman is sprinting around in the jungle, still trying to find the Walrus Pit after all this time. However, last time I revisited the "Where's the Walrus Pit" joke in Pleasure Island 5, I got lynched for being lazy. I think we can safely assume that Gooseman knows where the Walrus Pit is by now. Here's one from Zoe Greystone. Meanwhile, in a candle-lit room, where moans and screams of pleasure could be heard through the filthy walls, on a fluid-stained, heart-shaped bed, hands chained to the headboard, lay Gooseman. Oiled and sweaty, he says, "Okay, babe, now that we're done, can you undo these? I was supposed to be at the beach some time ago." This one's great. I'm just worried that if we go down a meanwhile story branch, it will make it unmanageable later. From Movelice. With a visible patch of sweat formed on his ass, an out-of-breath Fernando arrived at the entrance of Pleasure Island's main plaza. "Ah, Fernando," said Gooseman, who was dressed in a full-body ocean trout costume, still spotting his signature aviators. "I've been meaning to call you, but I decided I couldn't be bothered." Fernando, ignoring Gooseman's fitting odor of fish-scented cologne, turned his attention to a greasy gentleman sitting at a bar stool. Gooseman is really stepping out here. Everyone comes to Pleasure Island for different reasons. This sort of costumed behavior would not fly back home. From Ray El Hawiya. Sorry if I got that wrong. Fernando's caprine gait carried him swiftly through the steamy jungle. Soon the foliage parted to reveal the Sanctum Sanctorum, a carnival tent containing the throbbing commercial heart of Pleasure Island. But as the man-whore thrust aside the fleshy entrance flap, he found only the wind-rustling homemade flyers for seedy fetish gear vendors. Was this the calm before the storm that Orange had once foreseen? I want to read this one because firstly, it's really good, and second, because it taught me a word, caprine, which means relating to or resembling goats. I feel like I should have encountered this word before now. Think of all the times I could have implied goats without using the word goat. From Rotator. Once into the forest, Fernando heard a light humming approaching him. It was Gooseman riding upon a Segway with a small wagon in tow. Just a side project I've been working on. Pleasure Island Escorts. We come for you. Hop in. Fernando snugly fits himself into the wagon, and then the two were off. And this one is from Crypto Keyblade. Fernando dashed towards the sacred grounds of Fetish Fest, pressed on by the righteous urge to see that no kink be shamed. It was a barren plain of sand buried deep in the otherwise lush jungle. It had long ago been salted and burned by the violent deeds of fetishists past, assuring that no non-latex based life would grow here again. Really good scene setting in this one. Well done. From Medieval Astronaut. Closing in on the jamboree of debauchery, Fernando could hear all manner of ghastly screams and wails of terror. A horrid stench surrounded him, as all around him things were covered in every bodily fluid imaginable. Thought Fernando. Nothing out of the ordinary here. That is, until he listened closer to the content of the outcries. By Aphrodite's silky armpit hair, these are no simple ravings of uninhibited carnal bliss. These are panicked outings of safe words. He started to vomit, adding to the layer of filth that enveloped his feet. This one is fantastic, even if it is too long, sadly. I really like how Fernando just starts vomiting at the end. From WM53, Fernando followed the unmistakable trail of spent flagellators and discarded latex down the well-worn jungle path to the not-so-secret clearing. where gimps danced and furries pranced in the tropical haze amid garishly colored tents above which each fetish flew its freak flag high. I hope this is the right place, he mused absurdly. This one is amazing, but a lot to draw. I ended up drawing the Fetish Fest anyway, but in a much more half-assed manner than I would have been able to here. Nasbassa says, the closer Fernando got to the location of Fetish Fest, the more he realized that something was amiss. His keen manhorn nose picked up a scent that was unmistakable to any manhor worth his leopard thong, the scent of a virgin. Fernando suppressed the raw anger that welled up inside. Whatever the grapefruit fiends have planned has to be stopped. Losing one's virginity on Pleasure Island changed you to a whore without peers, a force of sexuality so great that no one sane would ever unleash such a force. Fernando would know. The last virgin that came to Pleasure Island was decades ago, a young horny teen named Fernando. Some very interesting potential Fernando origin story and Pleasure Island lore here from Vlad. But first, I need to satisfy my craving for crayfish. Fernando knew he could not face this fruity threat on an empty stomach, and thus his first steps led him to the crab parlor. Seating himself behind the table, Fernando waited patiently, the delicious smell of crabs and other crustaceans soothing his soul and almost making him forget the impending threat. But there was something wrong. Fernando noticed that the meals were not served with lemon as appropriate, but with grapefruits. They are here! This one's really good. I kind of want to actually go to the Fetish Fest though, since the idea has been floated, but I'm going to shelve this one for possible use later. There were other fantastic ones, but I'm worried this video will be very, very long, so here's the one I chose from everybody's favorite, Big Tasty 67. Fernando arrived at the main plaza, seeing the various stalls being set up for the evening. He spied a stall bearing a sign Walrus Pit Restoration Society. It was Gooseman's project after the pit was closed. Someone had to fight for the walruses, even if they did cause the crushing deaths of several tourists. This one was a pretty big page, which is another reason why it took me so long. Okay, thanks for watching. Please write what should happen next. I am very keen to keep this story going. There may be delays, but it will certainly go nowhere without your input. Thank you, bye.